Today's video is actually a video response. A user on YouTube, Solutions Within, asked me a question, and a year later I did a video response called Video Response Influencing Others. On that, an additional comment was placed, so this is a secondary response to the new comment. Now, I'll post the comment here. If you want to pause the screen and read it, feel free to read it. But of course, I'm going to pick out a particular point that I want to speak about, and that is right here, this line. The question I have is, what use does magic have at all if higher consciousness, source energy, Brahma, or however you want to say it, is making sure each of us is learning exactly what we're meant to learn and go through what we're meant to go through? I know it's a loaded question. So in my response video, if you check out the other one, I was talking about trying to influence others. When people try to use magic and mysticism, and this, of course, assuming you believe in it. If you don't believe in it, that's fine. Many of us do believe in some form of magic and mysticism, even if it's on the level of prayer. I think it's important to really quick talk about the definition behind magic, because the way people use magic can vary greatly. So I'm going to reference a few quotes really quick and a little bit of the origin of the word magic without spending too much time on it. Really quick, I'm just going to talk about the fact that, first of all, the term magic, and I'm referencing my notes here. The term magic is a modern term that evolved out of a Greek term, and there was individuals like Cornelius Agrippa from the 15th, 16th century who kind of started using it to almost like an umbrella term. So the term was used before him, but he kind of used it as an umbrella term to kind of store all of these different ceremonial magical practices. And then we have different quotes. We have quotes by individuals like Midesh Karti. Yesterday's magic is today's science, and today's magic is tomorrow's science. And then we have individuals like Aleister Crowley, however you want to say it. He had a book that was printed in 1929 called Magic in Theory and Practice, and he has a definition here for magic. Now, he puts a K on the end, which is actually an older spelling of magic. We can talk about that in future videos, but he said magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. Regardless of how you want to define magic, a lot of individuals use it similar to how I'm going to be using it throughout this video, and that is essentially putting forth your will to bring about change. That's pretty broad. I mean, that can be applied to art, to music, to crafting and creating. You're having this divine inspiration and you're manifesting it. And you're like, oh, but you're using physical means. Yes, because the art and science of bringing about change happens through a lot of different stuff. If you think about someone singing or giving a speech, they're literally using just their voice, and literally the sound and vibration, the quality and quantity of energy and input and skill put into that voice changes how you feel things through music. These are one example of vibrational changes. So yes, stuff like that is a type of magic. Now, you might be like, oh, that's not magic. That's fine. I just want to make sure that we're clear on what we're talking about. Now, in most cases, when people are talking about modern magic, especially ceremonial magic, you're talking about influencing others by doing basically what's considered sympathetic magic, where you're doing one thing to influence something else. So you're doing it on a smaller scale to affect a bigger scale by simulating it. With this ritual stuff, that's typically where people talk about, altars, candles, different type of words that they might say, or poems that they might speak. They might burn incense. Like, there's different types of vibrational qualities that practitioners believe add to the influence of their spell or magical effect that they're doing. And what I was saying is, if you, in that video, I was basically referencing any type of magic you use, whether it just be prayer or directing your thoughts and will, or doing ceremonial magic, that you are attempting to influence others is kind of wrong. For two reasons. First of all, morally, it's wrong. It's no different than trying to influence them by talking them into doing something they don't want to do or are reluctant to do. But then it's also not always going to work, because just like if you have a conversation with someone trying to convince them, for example, if you do believe in magic, that's fine. But if you don't believe in magic, I can spend in tons of videos trying to convince you magic is real. Doesn't mean it's going to work. It might work, doesn't mean it will. So that attempt to influence, people still have their own free will. I believe that ties into this particular follow-up. With that as a baseline, then if I'm suggesting that our free will overrides any attempt to do magic, then what's the purpose of magic? That's what I'm getting out of that question. If I'm mistaken, by all means, Solutions Within or anyone else, feel free to clarify or add more to the conversation below in the comments. Here's my thought. It's the same thing with any actions that we do. How much do you believe in free will? What is the purpose of life and its choices? Why do you take care of yourself? Why do you eat healthy if it's just destined to be? As far as I'm concerned, even though there may be predefined destinies depending on your personal path, religion, or spirituality, there's still an element of choice, at the very least simulated choice, even if you think it is all predefined. So why do it if it's predefined because you were predefined to do it? If it's not predefined, why wouldn't you? Any action or choice that you make is your own action or choice to make. It's giving it your all. Eating healthy and exercise is making choices. Making conscious choices. Using magic and mysticism, it doesn't mean that they won't work, period. So depending on the type of practice that you do, a lot of individuals look at focusing magic inward. They use alchemy. So alchemy, and depends on how alchemy is used. There are different alchemy practices that focus on more like science, chemistry type stuff today. But there are also alchemy practices where the alchemist looks within. If you look at stuff like the Philosopher's Stone or the, is it the Emerald Tablet? I always want to say the Jade Tablet. The Emerald Tablet with the recipe for the Sorcerer's Stone or the Philosopher's Stone, it's about internal changes. So instead of, like, some people always think alchemy, they think about turning lead into gold. This, in a way, in esoteric magical practices, is symbolic. It's about changing your own internal lead into something gold. It's about reforging your own spiritual essence inside, your own will, your own life, and embracing it. There's practices that are done across a multitude of modern New Age practices and religions, again, where they do ceremonial magic and stuff, where they'll use, like, you'll hear the 4 or 5 elements, earth, air, fire, water. Sometimes they'll add spirit onto the end of that, where the alchemist will take those elements and do a symbolic ceremony ritual, but it's to affect them inside, its internal workings. You see this in the Neidan arts of China, where they take practices like the internal arts like Tai Chi Chuan or Qigong, and they're doing breathing and mental exercises like moving meditation to get their body involved in the reforging of their spirit and their inner strength. So the idea of working inward doesn't necessarily work all the time either, but it's giving you that little extra bit of refreshment. It's like taking a few moments to breathe and to clear your mind. That alone is a type of magical working based upon this broader definition that I presented in this video. Why would you want to do that? Because it's going to work, because it's going to help a little bit. It's every little extra bit that can help. Will it solve all your problems and make everything go away? Absolutely not. When you introduce the idea of influencing on others, why would you want to do that? It's the same reason that you would want to talk a loved one out of doing something that you find foolish. You're trying to help them. You're trying to offer them a gift of your advice. Likewise, if you were to do some sort of, I don't know, protection or healing thing for someone else who is a willing recipient of that type of energy put forth towards them, likewise, why wouldn't you want to give an extra little nudge to someone that you care about? Morality aside of doing, like I said, I'm suggesting it through a moral lens of making sure they want to receive that. I would say the same thing for prayers. I'll pray for you. I'll put you in my prayers. I think it's better to get the person's acceptance of that, willingness to receive that gift of your prayer, your words, and your thoughts for them. That's not required, but I would encourage people to do that. Why would you pray if it's already predefined? It's the same concept there, in my opinion. So that's why I would do it. I don't necessarily, like I said, believe everything is hard set in stone. I'm not one of those individuals who thinks that our life is already set. I believe in free will. I believe that we make choices as we go. I think that there's outside influences that might help encourage, but the way that we go about it makes a huge difference. If you choose to walk blindly into the street, there's a chance you'll get hit. There's a chance you won't get hit, but why take the chance of letting full fate decide? You are making that choice. I think that takes full fate out of it. So yeah, hopefully that answers your questions. That's the way I think about it. What is the purpose of magic? I would Why do it if everything's predefined? Even if it's predefined, I think it's the same thing as any other choice that we make and decide to do. And it's also about how we apply it. You know, how much we're going to get out of it. Cutting back on a few calories and sitting on your butt versus making healthy choices and exercising. Both can have influence in different ways. What you do to yourself is going to be more effective than what you encourage other people to do. I just apply magic in the same logic there. So anyway, thank you for watching. As always, share your thoughts below. Based upon this comment, or even the general concept of this video, if you do believe in magic, what would be the purpose if our fate is predefined? If our fate is not predefined, what would be our purpose in doing magic? And if you don't believe in magic at all, let me know that in the comments, but assume and pretend for a second that what if it was real? Let's present this as the option of destiny predefined and not predefined, using magic in either of those scenarios, whether you believe in it or pretend it's the case. Apply that same logic. What are your thoughts? If you have any comments or questions or video requests below, I will happily read them in the future. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.